a police officer, an abandoned car left for months, and a miracle of the Virgin Mary that no one can explain. But before we continue, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. I'd love to see how far the miracles of the Virgin Mary are reaching. Michael had been a police officer in Ohio for 12 years. No heroics, no action movie scenes, just work, reports, calls. That October Tuesday, he got another call about an abandoned car. The third one that week alone. Michael wrote down the address, got into his patrol car, and drove off. Another car, another report. Another day just like the others. The address was in a neighborhood you probably know, not because you've been there, but because there's a neighborhood like that in every city. Simple houses, some well cared for, with trimmed lawns and flowers in front. Others needing a fresh coat of paint, with grass grown too tall. There's always that old tree on the corner that everyone uses as a reference point. You know that house after the big tree? It's there. There are kids who play in the street after school, a dog that barks when you walk by, an old lady sitting on her porch watching everything. It's the kind of place where life moves slowly, where people know each other by name. When he turned onto the street, he saw the car from a distance, parked on an empty lot between two houses. A model from maybe 15 years ago, color undefined under all that dirt. Michael parked the patrol car in front, opened the door, and got out. An elderly man was already coming from the house next door, walking fast for his age. "Officer, glad you came." "Sorry for the delay. We've had a lot of calls." Michael approached him. "How long has this car been here?" The man scratched his head. 3 months at least, maybe more. It showed up one night and stayed. We waited, thinking the owner would come back, but nothing. "Did you see who left it here?" "No. I woke up in the morning and it was there. Nobody saw anything." "Anyone touch the car? Try to open it?" "No. We left it alone. Called the police and waited." "All right. I'll take a look, thank you." The man nodded and went back to his house, but stayed by the window, watching. Michael walked slowly toward the car. The grass had grown up around it, tall, starting to cover the flat tires underneath. There were dry branches on the hood, thick dust. Michael walked around it, inspecting. Rear window cracked, passenger side mirror loose, hanging, bumper dented. He reached for the driver's door and pulled. It opened. It wasn't locked. And when it did, that smell hit him. Have you ever smelled a place closed up for too long? It's mold, stale air, the scent of abandonment. Michael turned his face away, took a deep breath of fresh air, waited a moment, then looked inside. The interior was exactly what he expected. Dust everywhere, covering the entire dashboard. The steering wheel coated in a thick gray layer. The seats torn, yellow foam spilling from the holes. The ceiling stained with moisture. Nothing of value in sight. No radio, nothing in the glove compartment when he opened it. Empty. Michael grabbed the clipboard he'd left on the patrol seat, came back, started writing. Car make, model, approximate year, general condition. Standard procedure. He was almost done when he saw it. On the passenger seat there was an image. Michael stopped. It was an image of the Virgin Mary. He tilted his head, stepped closer. The figure was made of plaster, painted, maybe about 30 centimeters tall. The Virgin Mary, wearing a light blue mantle, hands clasped in prayer, her serene face looking downward. Beautiful, delicate, well-crafted. But that wasn't what had caught his attention. It was something else. Michael looked around the inside of the car again. Dust covered the dashboard, the steering wheel, the seats, the floor. Everything. Then he looked at the statue. There wasn't a single grain of dust on it. The colors were vivid. The blue of the mantle softly shining, her face clean, perfect. As if it had just come out of the store that very morning, as if someone had just placed it there. The car had been abandoned for months. The dust didn't lie. The decay didn't lie. The doors weren't locked, true, but from the state of everything, no one had entered in a long time. The layer of dust was uniform, no marks, no signs that anyone had touched anything recently. So how was that statue like that? Clean, perfect, untouched. How? Michael reached out and picked up the statue. Have you ever seen something that simply doesn't make sense? Something you keep staring at, trying to find the logical explanation, but you can't? Michael stood there, door open, staring at that image of the Virgin Mary. He placed the statue on the seat of the patrol car, went back to the abandoned vehicle, finished the report, grabbed the radio and called for the tow truck. The tow truck arrived half an hour later. They did their job. Michael signed the paperwork. They left, taking the old abandoned sedan with them. Michael got into the patrol car. The statue was still there on the passenger seat. There were other calls to attend, other things to do. When the shift ended, Michael returned to the station. He put his things away, took the statue from the car seat. He stood there holding it, looking at the serene face of Our Lady. There was something about that statue, something that stirred him in a way he couldn't explain. It wasn't fear. It wasn't confusion. It was peace, as if that statue was meant to be there, as if it had been left in that car for him to find. He didn't want to leave it there, but it was the right thing to do. Michael took a deep breath, registered the statue as a found item, filled out the paperwork, took it to the evidence storage room, placed it on the shelf among other forgotten things, and left. But he couldn't stop thinking about it. Days passed, a week, 2, 3. That image wouldn't leave his mind. The serene face, perfectly clean, the strange peace he had felt while looking at it. A month later, the case was closed. No one had claimed it. Michael went back to the storage room, filled out the release form, signed the clearance, took the statue back, placed it on the car seat, and drove home. Michael lived with his mother, not because he couldn't live alone, not because he lacked money. He lived with her because she needed him. Sarah was sitting in the chair near the window. Her favorite chair, where she spent most of her time now. She was looking out the window, or trying to. The afternoon light came softly through the curtains. It touched her face. Sarah was 62 years old, gray hair tied in a simple bun. "How was your day?" she asked without turning her head. "Quiet." Michael walked closer. "I brought you something." Sarah turned her head toward him, slowly. Her eyes searched for him in the space, trying to focus, but unable to. That always broke Michael's heart, watching his mother try to see and fail. He knelt in front of her chair, carefully placed the image in her hands. Sarah lowered her head. Her fingers moved gently across the image, feeling it, the cold plaster, the folds of the mantle, the delicate face of Our Lady, the hands in prayer. She didn't need to see to know what it was. "It's the Virgin Mary," she whispered. "Yes, Mom." Sarah held the statue with both hands, brought it close to her chest, closed her eyes, and Michael saw a tear run down her face, a silent tear, one she didn't try to hide. He stayed there on his knees, not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do. Sarah opened her eyes again, looked at him, or at the place where she thought he was. "Thank you, son. Thank you so much." Her voice was broken. Michael put his hand on her shoulder, gently squeezed. "Do you want me to put it somewhere?" "Here." Sarah pointed to the little table beside the chair. "Right here next to me." Michael took the statue back and placed it on the table, carefully, close enough for her to reach. Sarah turned her head toward the image, reached out her hand, touched the Virgin Mary's face with her fingertips. Michael went to the kitchen to warm up dinner, but before leaving the room he looked back. His mother still had her hand on the statue, head bowed, lips moving in silent prayer. And he felt it again, that strange feeling he'd had in the patrol car. As if that image had appeared in that abandoned car for a reason, for him to bring home, for his mother. Michael didn't sleep well that night. He lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about the clean statue in the dirty car, about his mother's face when she touched the image of the Virgin Mary. It had been 6 months since his mother began losing her sight. Sarah had always been an active woman, always doing something. At first, it was just trouble reading small letters, then trouble watching TV, then trouble doing things around the house. She stopped going out, stopped going to church. "I don't want people to feel sorry for me," she said. And now she spent the whole day in that chair, just sitting, looking at the window, waiting for the day to pass. Because the doctors had been clear. There was no cure. There was no treatment. Her vision would get worse until she couldn't see anything anymore. It was only a matter of time, and Michael didn't know what to do. Because he could do many things. He could work, pay bills, take care of the house. He could cook. But he couldn't give his mother what she really needed. A week went by. The routine continued. Michael worked, came back, had dinner with his mother, slept, repeated. But there was something different, small, almost imperceptible at first. Sarah was talking more, not much, but more than before. She asked about his day, told him something she had heard on the radio, made comments about the weather. 3 weeks went by. Michael came home from work on a Thursday afternoon. He opened the door. The smell of food hit him immediately. He stood there at the entrance. It had been months since he had smelled that when coming home. "Mom?" "I'm here in the kitchen." His heart started to beat faster. He dropped his things, went to the kitchen. Sarah was making dinner, cutting vegetables, stirring a pot. Those automatic gestures we do without thinking, when we know our kitchen by heart. But Sarah hadn't been able to do that for months. Sarah noticed him there. She turned and looked. Not like before. Not that empty, lost look, searching into the void. She looked straight at him, and she saw. Her eyes filled with tears. The spoon fell from her hand, hit the floor. Sarah brought her hands to her face, covering her mouth, trembling. "Son," her voice came out broken, "Son, I can see you." And Michael couldn't hold it. He crossed the kitchen in 2 steps, hugged his mother, tight. Sarah was crying. "I can see you, son. I can see you." She repeated it, as if she couldn't believe it, as if she was afraid it was a dream. "I can see your face, your eyes." Michael was crying now too, holding his mother close. How many times had he imagined this moment? How many nights had he lain in bed praying, begging for something to happen, for her to get better? And now it was happening. It was really happening. Michael scheduled the appointment with the ophthalmologist. He needed to know what was happening, the same ophthalmologist who had given the diagnosis. The doctor looked at the old exams first. He frowned. He ran the tests again, asked Sarah to read letters, identify colors, look at points of light. She got everything right. The doctor went silent. "Mrs. Sarah," he said. His voice sounded strange. "You can see." "I know." "No, you don't understand. This doesn't happen. This kind of problem doesn't reverse. It doesn't get better." He looked at Michael, then at Sarah. "I have no explanation for this." In the car on the way back home, Sarah stayed quiet for a while. "Son," she said suddenly, "do you believe in miracles?" Michael was driving, looking straight ahead, thinking about that image of the Virgin Mary in the abandoned car. Clean where everything was dirty, perfect where everything was destroyed. Thinking about his mother, who had been going blind and now could see better than he could. "I don't know, Mom. But I saw you unable to do things." He stopped at the light, looked at her. Then, "Maybe I do believe." The image of the Virgin Mary remained there on the little table in the living room. Sarah started going back to church, every Sunday, like before, but different. She started crocheting again, reading the newspaper, doing the housework, but she also did new things. She began visiting some people from the church, those who were alone, who needed company. "I know how it feels," she would say. "I know what it's like to feel hopeless." Was it a miracle of the Virgin Mary? Doctors would say no, that it was something they didn't understand yet, some scientific explanation that will still be discovered, but Sarah knows the truth, and Michael knows too. Because some events we just can't explain, can't understand, can't put into words. We can only be grateful. Do you believe in the miracles of the Virgin Mary? If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Write in the comments about a miracle you've witnessed or experienced, and share this video with someone who needs to renew their hope today. May the Virgin Mary continue to bless and protect you and your family. Amen.